Are you tired of trying every trick in the book to boost your self-esteem and confidence, only to end up back where you started? We all crave a greater sense of self-assurance and poise, but despite countless attempts to boost these qualities, they still elude us and quickly fade away. So why persist with ineffective methods that only provide temporary, fleeting boosts in confidence and self-esteem? So forget everything you think you know about self-esteem and confidence. It's time to embrace a groundbreaking and fresh perspective. How is self-esteem and confidence actually created? I don't think many people really stop to understand that. Lots and lots of books on confidence and self-esteem, and I read many of them. I've been doing personal development as far back as I can remember, but nothing ever stuck. Now, a lot of us don't even like to mention the word self-esteem. We tend to think of that as something that we learned in school. If you grew up in America in the 80s and 90s, you probably were subjected to a self-esteem program that was probably in your physical education, or it was slipped in there somewhere. This is a very big campaign that was going on in the US, and I'm sure the US was not the only country. And I remember this, and I remember there were talking about things like self-esteem and all that. I didn't really understand what it was about, and it definitely didn't help. I don't think it helped anybody. It's this idea of like, well, if we can just compliment kids, then somehow they'll grow up with good self-esteem. And we know that's not how it works. We also know that a lot of your sense of self and self-esteem and confidence has a lot to do with when you're growing up with your parents and how they treat you. But I don't think the answers all lie in the past. Sometimes they do. Sometimes we need to heal wounds. But sometimes even in healing those wounds, it's not like confidence and self-esteem come rushing in. Let's get comfortable, though, with that word self-esteem. What does it really mean? It basically means to like who you are, to feel good about who you are. And as much as people don't like to use that word, I think many people do suffer from low self-esteem. It's not something you just outgrow. And I know for a fact that a lot of people suffer from a low sense of confidence. We can call that self-confidence, low confidence in themselves. And how I know that is because the majority of people who come to me for coaching, they don't actually articulate it that way, but that's often what the problem is that they're dealing with. But sometimes, I would say half the time, they come right out and say, that's what it is, I need more confidence. And I was right there in my early 30s, first coach I hired ever. That's what I wanted. I wanted more confidence. And he said something really interesting to me. He said, confidence comes and goes. Confidence is usually about something. And often we want confidence for things that we have no experience with whatsoever. That's why we want the confidence to begin with. But we're not going to have it for something we've never done. He said, that's why I don't need confidence. I have determination, and that's all I need. I was like, wow, that's an interesting take on things. We can get by without confidence. And this is not a video where I'm going to talk about how to get by without confidence. I will talk about specifically where confidence comes from. But there will be times when, yes, you want to learn something new, you want to do something new, you want to accomplish something you've never accomplished before. So how are you going to be confident about that? I will address that later. But if you think about it, determination, being determined to do something, when you think about it that way, you don't need as much confidence. It's not about the confidence. It's about what you want to create. So how is self-esteem and confidence created? Many people think of it as this kind of like magical thing that kind of floats around out there, and some people either can grab onto it and embody it, put it in a bottle and store it inside themselves. And some people are not so lucky. And that's just not at all how it works. So self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. Confidence is the degree of certainty you feel about something. So if we want to say self-confidence, that is your certainty about who you are. And that's pretty vague. So that could mean a lot of different things, right? We can talk about trusting ourselves. Do I trust myself that I'm not going to fail when I go do this? Or do I trust myself that even if I fail, I'm fine, I can move on, keep trying until I succeed? I'm going to come back to this about how self-esteem and confidence is created. If you haven't been attending these lives up to this point, then you missed my video on values. And I highly recommend that after this video, you go back to that video and watch the video about values if you haven't seen it. And if you have, this is, and you want to connect the dots here, I recommend that you go back and watch it as well. Now, what are values? I need to define that. I'm not going to do a deep dive into values because, like I said, I already did a video on that. But I do need to define it in case anyone here hasn't seen that video already. And values, according to my mentor, Steve Andreas, a value is a generalization about an experience that's important to you. So think about that. You value experiences. Why? Because they're important to you. That's why we value. A generalization is kind of like a categorization. You draw a circle around a certain kind of experience, you give it a meaning and a name, and you say, I want more of this because it's important to me. For example, I have happy experiences. I enjoy that a lot. Happiness feels good. So I think about, well, what are those experiences that I've had that are happy? And then I kind of draw a circle around that and give that category. This is me experiencing happiness. That's my generalization. Now, the degree to which I put my focus on that category will be the degree to which I believe that about myself. So what do I mean? If I draw this category called happiness, and it's my happy experiences, and that's me connected to that, and I have that category is much bigger than my category of unhappy experiences, or at least I include more happy experiences than unhappy experiences, I'm going to perceive myself as a happy person. And if I perceive myself as a happy person, this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because I believe I'm a happy person, I will seek out opportunities to have more and more happy experiences. We align to our beliefs. Therefore, if I believe I am all of the qualities that I value, what do you think that's going to do for my self-esteem and my confidence? Again, I'll circle back to that a little bit later. So what gives us self-esteem? When you act in alignment with one of your values, specifically one of your values, less so with an external value. What's the difference? We go through life not really knowing who we are in the beginning. We're trying to figure it out as kids. The only direction we have are the authority figures around us. And they will often tell you who you should be, what you should do, what you should like. And I'm talking anywhere from parents to teachers. And this is all normal. I don't think we're going to revolutionize that whole thing. That's just part of childhood, right? But then we have our own personal core values that we're usually not aware of until much later in life. Some people go their entire lives without ever knowing what those values are. We're so busy going along with what we feel like we should do because it's so ingrained in us. So there's a disparity as we're growing up between what our real true personal values are, which we don't know, and because we don't know what they are, and we're not encouraged often to discover what those values are, there will remain a disparity between what your true core values are and what are the values of your family, your culture, your society. All the shoulds, what you should do. And in that disparity between those two lies low self-esteem, low confidence, lacking a sense of who I am. And when I do things that are in alignment with the external values, family values, societal values, cultural values, there's a little bit of a boost there because I get attention from other people and I get compliments from other people. But as soon as that attention goes away, and it always does, my self-esteem drops, my confidence drops. And I think, wow, I got to go out there and do more of this to keep that going, because this is how I'm judging whether or not I'm a good person, I'm a worthy person. I'm trying to find that validation externally, which will always keep you insecure and in low self-esteem and low confidence about yourself. And some people take this to an even an extreme degree. And these are the people who really go after power and status because they want to find something permanent, a permanent way of putting themselves on that perch of getting that constant validation and attention externally because they can't find it in themselves. An extreme version of this is narcissism. So I don't think people really become narcissists. I think that is probably something you're either born with or it happens early in childhood. But you can increase your narcissism if you chase that. So when you are clear about what your personal values are and you act in alignment with a personal value, you're self-validating, and you don't need anyone else to do that for you. You don't need anyone else to say what you did was a good thing. You feel it from the inside. It's self-generating, self-validating. And this is true self-confidence. And this is where true self-esteem comes from. It's also where sustainable self-esteem and confidence comes from. So you can think about it right now. Anything that you value, any one of your values, and think of times when you aligned with that value and you will feel it right away. Kindness, Do you value kindness? I do. And when I think about times when I did kind things, I feel it right away. I also value happiness, joy, peace, passion. And if I stop and think about any examples of any one of those values, any example that I've lived of any one of those values, you automatically feel that little boost of self-esteem and confidence in that. You can try that right now. So you don't need to depend on other people. If you're depending on others for your validation, you will always be insecure. You will always be in that disparity between that true confidence and self-esteem and trying to validate it externally, what we could call other esteem. So that's never status and attention, external validation is never going to get you that self-esteem and confidence that you're looking for and that you crave. I'm not saying you should shun that. I'm not saying you should not enjoy it when it happens. Why not enjoy it? If somebody gives you attention, if somebody gives you compliments, hey, that's nice. It's further affirmation of your own validation, and it feels good. So why not enjoy it? As long as you don't think that that's the truth and what you feel inside is not true, or that's somehow invalidated. And it's amazing to me that I did this for so long to myself, and it's amazing to me that other people do this to themselves, where they don't trust their own feelings when they align with their values, when their behavior aligns with their values and they get that boost and that feel good. They often won't trust that and look for someone else to validate that for them, that yes, in fact, their behavior was valuable. And that's really unfortunate. And if you're doing that, start breaking that pattern right now. Trust what you feel inside when you align with one of your values.